I have not been to Minnesota in probably 20 years.
Bring gas. Welcome to Flagrant Howls, a Minnesota Timberwolves lifestyle podcast.
All right, little Flagrant Howls off-season edition here. Last week, if anyone hasn't checked out the Matt Lloyd episode, Timberwolves GM Matt Lloyd, who's essentially Tim Connolly's right-hand man for the last 3 years. He spent 10 years in Orlando. Awesome guy. Mm-hmm. We must have talked for like 25 or 30 minutes off mic with him too, and just telling stories, and just a good dude, smart, sharp. So check that episode out. It's like 25 minutes with Matt Lloyd if you missed it. They made a big hire last week that got lost in the news cycle, rightfully so, through no fault of the Timberwolves. They announced their new CEO last Wednesday, and we haven't talked about it really much yet on Flagrant Howls, so we'll get to that. And kind of a fun, crazy idea from Canis Hoopus that came out yesterday. But a shout out to MSP Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning, Judd, for powering Flagrant Howls today.
Yes, indeed. And look, if you are thinking about going ductless, call MSP. They should be your first call. They're a Mitsubishi Elite Diamond contractor for ductless, and they know what they're doing. If you have an older home with no ductwork, guess what? It's no problem. MSP specializes in smart and efficient ductless installs. These systems aren't cheap as well, so MSP is going to help you make the best decision for your home and your budget. They're quiet, efficient, and there will be no ugly renovations, just comfort where it's needed in your home. Serving the Twin Cities for more than 100 years. 651-615-4292. Call MSP.com. Call MSP.com.
So Matthew Caldwell, the new Timberwolves Chief Executive Officer. I suppose we could put this under the umbrella of latest Wolves news. It's the latest Timberwolves news. That's right. So he started yesterday overseeing the day-to-day business operations and high-level strategic initiatives for the Timberwolves, Lynx, and the Iowa Wolves. So so he takes over for Ethan Casson, who oversaw business operations with Ryan Tankey in that part of the organization. So it's Tim Connolly overseeing basketball ops and Matthew Caldwell overseeing business ops under Mark Lowry and Alex Rodriguez. And he spent the last decade plus with the Florida Panthers. And this I'm curious. So Judd's a big hockey. You guys are both hockey guys, but Judd's a big hockey guy. And you have followed the Florida Panthers rise to the top of the NHL. Yep, as a team on the ice, but also as a brand, a hockey brand in Florida, of all places.
Yep.
So he's, quote from Matthew Caldwell, "I love the NHL. I've enjoyed hockey. I'm a big fan of it, but the NBA is just a much bigger global platform. I really believe in Mark and Alex and their vision and what they're trying to do. They're trying to make Minnesota best in class." So he's been CEO of the Panthers since 2016. He served in the Army. He's a West Point grad, received MBA and law degrees from Northwestern, and worked on Wall Street for Goldman Sachs. Played a major role in many parts of the Florida Panthers turnaround in recent years, especially off the ice. He said, actually, the Panthers owner, Vincent Viola, was quoted here from this ESPN story. "There are very few opportunities I would advise him to pursue, but working with Alex Rodriguez and Mark Lowry on a global platform like the NBA is at the top of that list," the Panthers owner said. "It's tremendously bittersweet to our family, but we recognize this as an exceptional opportunity and the next great step in Matt's career. His impact on our organization has been immeasurable, and he leaves with our respect and gratitude." So Mark and Alex now in the last 4 years have gone to Denver for Tim Connolly, doubled his salary, brought him over, brought Matt Lloyd over from Orlando on the basketball ops side, and then they go down to Florida here and pluck. And I don't even think Matthew Caldwell's 50 years old yet. He's a young CEO.
He's in his 40s.
And I don't know if they doubled his salary, but they made it a sweet enough offer for him to leave a really good job in the NHL to oversee business ops for the Timberwolves. Your thoughts?
He got a 10-year contract here, so that's a start. He was so.
Dude, that's wild.
I think you said this, but he joined the Panthers as the CEO in 2014, was promoted to CEO in 2016 at the age of 36 at the time. So he's in his 40s. He's a young guy, and make no mistake, job number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 is an arena. This is what this is the platform. This starts it now, as far as where it's going to be, what it's going to look like. And keep in mind too, when we're talking about a building now, we're not talking about, okay, you just got to get it done. We just need a building. We're talking about like a Timberwolves town. If you look at how these things are done now, they're done with restaurants and shops and probably condos. So my guess is this is going to be the biggest project easily. And it's going to take up a ton of time, and it's going to involve, even if they do it privately, it still involves the city, potentially the state being involved. Like, you can't just throw up an arena and be like, we're doing everything. You need infrastructure help. You need that. So my reaction is that Alex and Mark Laurie got Tim Connolly to run the basketball ops. Fortunately, while Glenn was there, now I think Glenn at the end of the day might have resented that a bit, but it worked out really well, obviously. And now this next move is to get the business operation in the right direction. Now, just to be fair here too, Ethan Casson and Ryan Tankey worked pretty damn hard. Like, they did a lot of things. So I think it would be unfair. Like, they're not some of the Wolves' previous basketball ops guys that were just buffoons. Rosan was not, but some of them certainly were. Ethan and Ryan worked hard to do a lot of things. They were, unfortunately for them, attached to Glenn at the end of the day, so that definitely meant that they were going to be gone. But yeah, I think what we're talking about here is a guy who's got a ton of experience in the community, in getting things done, and the first 5 pages of his to-do list involves getting a building here.
Yeah. What's interesting is the Trailblazers' new owner, who is now Tom Dundon, who owned the Carolina Hurricanes for years. He's now going to own the Portland Trailblazers, and it's kind of interesting. I'm not as plugged in with the NHL and hockey as I used to be, but these are two just from like, not to have this complete a hockey discussion, but like the Carolina Hurricanes, Florida Panthers, two teams that in the last probably 5 to 10 years have completely rebranded like their image, and they're legitimately one of the coolest fan bases and coolest places to go in NHL arenas. I've been to the Carolina arena in the last 5-10 years. Florida's obviously built up a Stanley Cup dynasty. And let's be honest, like Carolina, that's a transplant state. You even kind of laugh, like, hockey's there, can't be successful. Dude, the Hurricanes are awesome in Carolina, in a market that is flooded with college basketball and college football, teams all over the place. So the fact, I think, the NBA is also leaning on these guys that are like, I know there's a crossover between hockey and NBA fans, but I find it very interesting too that we're now seeing a new owner come from the Hurricanes going to Portland, and now the Wolves, obviously getting their CEO from Florida. It's an interesting little trend, and yes, the arena thing is the biggest, but I do find it interesting that there's this kind of crossover happening between hockey and the NBA.
Yeah, well, if you had like bins of business things to accomplish for the Timberwolves, there's probably certain things you could do still to maximize Target Center a little bit more, but they're putting a lot of butts in those seats more than they did certainly 10 years ago. There's a really good product on the court, so yeah, a new arena is the only thing that would really aggressively spike revenue inside your arena situation. But then, like, what Declan's hitting on too is with a couple of these hockey teams, and let's draw the exact parallel to the Panthers because that's where Caldwell's coming from. That's become just a cool brand. And even though the Timberwolves have become a really competitive team, back-to-back Western Conference Finals, 4 straight playoff appearances, Anthony Edwards, they have a lot of really good things going for them on the court. There's still a lot of room for brand growth there to become, there's more fans jumping on board now, and it's great. But locally and nationally, there's still I would say that the Timberwolves brand still carries a certain stigma, not as much as it did 5 years ago, but that's a lot of embarrassing bad seasons and just like stench on your brand to just get rid of it in 3 or 4 years. Mm-hmm. So there is that aspect to it too. And from a team valuation standpoint, all these things play into it. Your market plays into it. Like if you're in New York, you're going to have a higher market cap for what your NBA franchise can be worth. But despite being one of the most successful teams in the NBA the last 4 years, the Timberwolves are 28th in franchise valuation.
Right.
Ahead of only the Grizzlies and the Pelicans, just behind the Magic, the Hornets, the Blazers, and the Jazz.
Yep.
So there's a lot of room.
Well,
I mean, they're never going to be top 5 along with like Lakers and Warriors and Knicks.
Right.
But could they be 20th, 18th? Could they be above the Atlanta Hawks? The Cleveland Cavaliers and the Milwaukee Bucks are 15th and 16th, worth $1 billion more as a valuation than the Timberwolves are.
It's the building. Like, that's a starting point. I also would say in 2025, 26, you can never brand yourself enough. Like, if you look at what brands mean now, it's not just, hey, we're selling a bunch of Ant jerseys. That's what it used to be. Now it literally is going to be like what the Bucks did. I mean, the district that the Bucks built around Pfizer Forum is the future, and it's moving quickly. The Timberwolves are in the oldest building in the league because Madison Square Garden technically is, but I think it got $1 billion renovation. So, like, the Timberwolves' value will not go up. I mean, Glenn Taylor would have gotten a lot more from day one if they had a building, but he elected to redo their building, which was a huge mistake. So, yeah, we're talking about there are endless possibilities. The other thing that's interesting about these CEO jobs that are business jobs, so it's not like because this guy's going to have nothing to do with, what Tim Conley does. He's not going to be making basketball decisions. If you look at these CEO jobs, they're not about your sport. They're about what you've done in your sport. And these guys bounce around. The perfect example is this. So Todd Lewicki was, I believe, the first president of the Wild. And that's the group, along with Jack Sperling and that whole group, that came up with the State of Hockey, which was a made-up name. We were never called that before, okay? Mm-hmm. In fact, I think they wanted Hockey Town, but the Red Wings had trademarked it. But anyway, if you look at the first, 5 years of what the Wild did, and it's a college class in how to build a brand. Like, it's genius. Now it's sort of commonplace, but in 2000 it was not. Mm-hmm. So then Todd got a job, I believe became the president of the Seattle Seahawks. And he took the 12th man. The 12th man is the idea here of we're going to retire the jersey #1 opening night of the Wild, much to my dismay.
It's in both cases, it's getting fans to feel part of the team.
Exactly.
Right?
And so they fly the 12. The 12 wasn't a thing before him. Then he became Goodell's right-hand man with the National Football League. Didn't work out. So now he's the president of the Seattle Kraken. And what did they do? They retired the 32 because in the first 32 minutes of season tickets being available, they sold them out. So it's got very little to do with the sport itself. It's how do you take the branding and your experiences and build that. And I guarantee you that this guy has branding experiences that Lori and A-Rod, being smart businessmen, looked at and said, how do we get that? We go after somebody who's done it.
And a lot of teams come up with these season by season marketing phrases. I'll pick on the Twins here for a second. Rise as one, right? What does that mean? It doesn't mean anything. In fact, last night you could have taken a camera and found random singular fans strewn throughout the ballpark in the 8th inning of a blowout game against the White Sox, and you could have mocked it right here. How about Bob in section 300? How about you rise as one? The one guy sitting in that section. Or the White Sox from a few years ago, it was 10 years ago, we're all in was their marketing slogan for that year. It's okay. And then what happens when you struggle in the first half of the season? Now people use it as a punchline. But State of Hockey, as an overarching marketing slogan, even if your team is bad, you can mock it a little bit, but it's a rallying cry for fans.
It makes people proud.
I was going to say it's a prideful rallying cry.
Yes.
And the 12s in Seattle. So is there something like that that the Timberwolves can create to bring? And maybe it's just Naz Reid, actually. Maybe that's the rallying cry.
But you know what you do? You probably don't unleash it until you open your building. I'll give you a perfect one, and it's genius again. The Vikings. The Skull Chant started with the opening of U.S. Bank Stadium. It was never a thing. It was
stolen from the Iceland World Cup,
but Skull Vikings started with the song when they were an expansion franchise in 1961, right? But the Vikings were like, okay, we need a branding, and again, to your point, Phil, not a 2016. We need a branding thing. What can we do?
Long-term big
So they
picture,
took Skull. They stole the chant, but it was their like Skull was part of their identity. And you now have an entire stadium that does that as if it's been around since 1961.
And it's electric. Like I know,
Yeah.
like Packers fans make fun of it, and even maybe some other rival NFL fans. But just like, by the way, you do the same thing to any of your rivals, so like that's
Right.
fine and healthy. And I don't like poke back at it. But the Skull Vikings song for years when I would go to the Dome was just Ragnar on an ATV, and we're singing the same Skull Viking song, and not to point the finger back across the street. But we're going to win, Twins, and here's TC Bear with the big flag coming out. Like, we're doing the same. Like, you got to do something. What now, like, how it comes back to the Wolves, I don't know. I think we'd have to, like, really sit down and think, what is that? Like, is it a chant? Is it a section? You know what? The Clippers made the wall, the big wall thing in their arena.
Yeah.
Is it something that's arena-based? Is it a rallying cry? I guess I don't know what that is, but it is something that I think is very important for the Wolves to accomplish.
Yeah. I want to read you the Lori A-Rod joint statement here, too, from the CEO announcement. Our vision is for the Timberwolves and Lynx to set a new standard of excellence in pro sports, and we're confident that Matthew is the leader needed to make that a reality. Leading our organization into an innovative new era requires an exceptional individual at the helm, and Matthew's proven track record leading the business of the Florida Panthers is undeniable. We can't wait to see the remarkable impact his bold leadership will have on this organization. There's a lot of these press releases that come out across all of these leagues, right? We've seen a bajillion of these Minnesota sports teams hire a new GM, new CEO, executive, whatever it may be. Mm-hmm. And most of the statements like this are just like, yeah, they're hollow. You hired someone awesome and whatever, like you're pumping their tires. But when you think back 4 years ago to Mark Lowry and Alex Rodriguez coming in, high profile, out of town, right, coming in from New York City, and people are asking them, so what do you believe in as leaders? Like what are you hanging your hat on? How would you define what you want your leadership tenure to look like as you transition to majority owners? And they said 3 words: people, vision, and capital. And okay, and when you throw those 3 words out, they're hollow until you do something with them. But if you look back over 3 years now, they've been consistent with all of these. Their vision is to become one of the best organizations, a world-class basketball organization. Well, on the court, they've been to back-to-back Western Conference finals. And so, like, you could say they're closer to that than at any point in Timberwolves history for 35 years. People. Well, they went out and they identified Tim Connolly. They identified Matt Lloyd, our guy. They identified Michael Grady as a rising star lead TV voice and face. And now they just plucked the Florida Panthers rising star CEO. So they don't mess around like Bumpkin Glenn Taylor, just kind of settling for second and third rate hires throughout the years, right? And then capital, they've spared no expense on these hires. Now, Glenn was funding Tim Connolly's tenure to this point. But they brought in Michael Bloomberg to help add one of the richest human beings in the world to just help add more capital to what they're already doing here. So, to this point, credit to their hiring, credit to their vision, and for the money that they are backing these things with so far early in their minority and majority ownership.
Now let's get the building done. Come on, guys.
And we got to build a new arena. Going to make it happen.
Let's get that done. It's going to happen.
I want to float this idea from credit to Canis Hoopus. The author, I believe I'm pronouncing this correctly, Thilo Latrell Witter, had a jersey that should be retired, and he lays out an argument for this. Not Kevin Garnett here, but a shout out. We should retire Butcher and the Boar's jersey. All-time great restaurants in Minneapolis.
Yep. In fact, I've been talking about this throughout the summer, but the Butcher and the Boar, the patio, Absolutely outstanding. I know it's getting colder, but guess what? Summer's going to come back for like a couple weeks, right? And when it does, make sure that you check it out. Great craft cocktails, fantastic beer, and menu specifically for the patio. Now, if you want to dine at Butcher and the Boar inside, I don't blame you because it's Southern style hospitality. It is absolutely fantastic. We've all eaten there and we've all come away saying, oh my gosh, that was some of the best food that I have had. So check them out, Butcher and the Boar in the North Loop. You're going to be happy that you did. May I suggest a perfect date night, anniversary, special event? Butcher and the Boar is the place that you should go.
You could also take your honey out on a date to the World Juniors. Huh?
Absolutely.
Have you ever taken Dawn to... Well, you've taken her to
games?
hockey games.
Yeah, she doesn't like
Would she
hockey
go to the
games.
World Juniors or no?
I would not. You know what? I would not subject her to that because only hardcore hockey fans who really love this great sport should go, because what you will be watching is the future stars of tomorrow. Today, the World Juniors being held at both Grand Casino Arena and 3M at Mariucci, December 26th, Boxing Day through January 5th. This is, as far as I'm concerned, the best annual tournament that exists out there. See all 4 USA preliminary round games at Grand Casino Arena with the USA 4-game mini pack on sale now. For all ticket information and where you can see games schedules, go to worldjuniorsmn26.com. worldjuniorsmn26.com.
Okay, boys. It's not really news, but it's a fascinating argument here. Latest Timberwolves news from Canis Hoopus, one of the OG Timberwolves blog sites. Thilo Latrell-Witter writes, I think Ricky Rubio deserves to have his jersey retired in Minnesota.
Okay.
And he starts with, it's like the end of 8 Mile, where you start with all the things you have to say about me. Like, I know this is a ridiculous argument, so I will list all. Yes, I am this, I am that. He says, there are some obvious reasons why this will never happen. Rubio's number 9 has been given out to 4 players since his departure 8 years ago, including league discards like Alan Crabb and Luol Deng, and 1-year unwonders like Leandro Bolmaro. Even worse, the best Minnesota's record was with Rubio was a 40-42 mark in the final year of the Kevin Love era. So yeah, okay, it's fair. But do you remember when the Minnesota Timberwolves, a professional basketball team and organization now valued in the plural of billions of dollars, was forced to offer tickets to their games in exchange for canned foods and dried pasta at food drives? And they still failed to sell out arenas, even giving tickets away like 10, 12, 15 years ago. Point taken.
It's like the Twins right now.
Buy a stick of butter. You get a lower level ticket.
Yep.
You get a Champions Club ticket.
Seriously, yeah.
While the team was never in danger of moving, that's about as dead as a basketball team can be within a community, that era of Timberwolves basketball. Ricky Rubio didn't necessarily end the dead era of Timberwolves basketball, but he certainly offered his own light that flickered and dimmed only to roar back up again. That's important in its own right. To my point, I don't think you can tell the story of the Timberwolves franchise without telling so many chronicles of Ricky Rubio, one of the most exciting players in Timberwolves history. I love the way he laid the argument, and there's more to this. You can read the whole article at canishoopus.com. But, like acknowledging that maybe this is a little bit of a low bar to set for retiring a number, but to this point, so Malik Sealy's number is retired because he passed away tragically.
Yeah.
There's a Flip Saunders banner that just says Flip because he passed away tragically. So in terms of like on-court merit, there are no retired numbers for the Timberwolves. And Kevin Garnett, until further notice, he's the obvious one.
Yeah.
But what do you make of this argument for Ricky Rubio as a figure of the franchise?
We have totally gone off the deep end in our understanding of what would qualify for a jersey retirement. This is why, in fact, Phil, full disclosure, sent us the prep today for the show and pointed this piece out, which, by the way, is a fun, like Ricky was great. He seemed like a great guy. He was a shining light in what was a very down period. But all of that being said, I sent you guys back a note that said, this is why you have rings of honor, halls of fame for your team. Jersey retirements, look, quite frankly, and I won't belabor the point because I've done it before, quite frankly, I think the Timberwolves, now the Garnett jersey not being retired is ridiculous, but beyond him, there's nobody else who deserves from this franchise's history to have their number hanging in the rafters. The Malik Sealy thing, different because he tragically was killed in the car accident in like 2000. But in my opinion, the Wild screwed up. Why is Mikko Koivu, who is a Hall of Fame Ring of Honor guy, like the Twins? The Twins have done a great job of this. Mm-hmm. But Mikko Koivu's jersey number should not be retired. This should be held.
Desperate. It's a little desperate.
Yeah, well, and this is an honor, in my opinion, held for Hall of Fame type players. Like, this is not you don't just because we liked you or just because you were the most fun guy to watch on a team or or you played a long time in Koivu's case. So, but I do think that all teams, like one of the things that I would do if the Wolves CEO would call me, we're both hockey guys, and ask me, hey, Judd, you're a smart guy. You've been watching sports a long time. I value your opinion. In fact, I'll give you $10,000. What should we do? I'd say create a Hall of Fame. Create a Ring of Honor of some sort. And Ricky Rubio, to me, can walk right in there. You'll bring him back. It'll be great fun. And even if you don't agree with it, it's certainly not an affront to I find it to be an affront to the franchise when you retire numbers that don't deserve it.
Couple things off this. It just occurred to me that we have to get you and Caldwell, the new CEO, in a room together because you guys would you just talk hockey for an hour and you would. I think I'm excited to maybe we can get him on the show at some point. But
I'd love
Judd
to know what
the
they
new
did.
Wolves CEO is
The Panther stuff the Panther stuff to me, because I don't know a ton about that. I just know that they're really good now. I think the culture of how you turn that franchise around would be a great conversation.
I would say just to put the bat signal out, and we can do this behind the scenes too, that, hey, if whether it's Patrick or Derek with the Wolves Communications or Alex or Mark, if you are consuming still this episode of Flagrant Howls, we'd love to talk to the new CEO. So Judd and him can just geek out about hockey marketing and then other things. But
I got some ideas.
You're right in that the Twins locally have the Twins Hall of Fame, and they just put Corey Koski in. And Corey he's a really good player and a great figure in early 2000s Twins history. And I think for what the Twins got out of Koski and what Koski delivered to the Twins, helping them win a playoff series in 2002 and restarting the franchise, he belongs in the Twins Hall of Fame. But he's nowhere near a Major League Baseball Hall of Famer. But it's a perfect spot, and you wouldn't retire his jersey because that's aggressive. Yep. So you're right. And a Ring of Honor is kind of the same in that you're not necessarily a NFL or Pro Football Hall of Fame player, but to this franchise, you meant a lot. So if the Wolves had something like this, for retired jerseys, KG hits that level, period, full stop, retire his jersey, right? If there was a Wolves Ring of Honor or Den of Recognition, whatever you want to call it, the Wolves Den of Recognition.
Now you get 10,000 too. That's a great idea.
Who would fit in? So I mean, Rubio for sure. I think Kevin Love fits in there. Carl Anthony Towns
very
fits
open
in there.
Yes, very open.
Sam Mitchell, guys like that.
Yes. And guess what? Off the court, Kevin Harlan.
Yes.
Be a perfect guy, right?
Tom Hanneman, the late Tom Hanneman.
Yep.
Jim Peterson
you could have
eventually.
Yes, exactly right. So
Chad Hartman. Put Chad Hartman in the Wolves' den of celebration.
And we can debate these. Like Koski's a debatable one. Should he have gone in? But at the end of the day, it's fine. It's not the 47's not hanging up there in left field, and you're like, well, huh? You know?
Because then it's then you have to justify forever nobody ever being able to wear it. It's a different level for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean it's silly to me that Mikko Koivu's number is completely retired. Yes, he was their second ever first round draft pick, and he spent, I would say, his entire career here. He did have 7 games with Columbus where he was like, I'm not going to play hockey anymore. Right. But I'd argue Mikko Koivu, for more than half of his tenure with the Wild, was not even one of the 3 most figureheads of the Wild. Zach Parise and Ryan Suter were ahead of him. Are we going to retire their numbers? Are we going to, what are we doing?
Suits doesn't want, Suits is like, no.
And then, because a few times, my wife only does this because it just sets me off, and she likes to get me going, because every time we're at the X, whether it's for a hockey game or a concert or whatever, and she sees the Mikko number, and she likes to poke the bear of, well, we retired Joe Mauer's number. It's like, Joe Mauer's a Hall of Famer. He was from here, and he was one of the best players at his position, at one of the most demanding positions in sports. Mikko Koivu. Let me give you the awards Mikko Koivu won in his
he never won
15-year
a
career.
league MVP award. No, he's not in the Hockey Hall of Fame. Yeah, different level.
Not a single award.
Yeah,
not even a Selke.
Get
not
her.
even an All-Star.
You
like,
go after. You
Get
go
her
after
ass.
her. She'll
What are
handle
we
this well.
talking about?
Yeah, come on, Kelsey.
Not even the same. She just does it to poke me because this is what happens every time she does it. But with Ricky, yeah, I mean Ricky was a huge fan favorite. You know, it took him a couple years to get over here and kind of helped spark a little bit of a turnaround in a franchise that was really dead in the water. But I retiring his number is outlandish. Putting him in a Hall of Fame, I can hear it. I don't think it's like a slam dunk, pun intended, but I do think it's worthy of a discussion for sure.
Right.
The Wolves Den of Honor. I'm going to put this together for next week on
Yeah,
Flagrant
let's do
Howls.
this. Let's do this.
Let's do here it is. We're going to do we'll do it like next Wednesday. And we're going to call it the Wolves Den. What was the first one? Den of Honor. We'll workshop that.
Den of Honor's good.
But who's in? Who is in?
Players, coaches, and broadcasters.
coaches. Yeah. Okay.
Or off.
Just making some notes here. So this will be a fun exercise because, like, dude, Pooh Richardson, the first point guard in franchise history, late '80s, early '90s, guys like that. Be fun, man. Jimmy
Christian
Butler.
Leitner. Hey guys, I'm just here to talk about Buffalo
Wild Wings.
Okay, guys,
Amazing.
bye.
So there's your latest Timberwolves
Good,
news
good
here.
stuff.
Yeah.
Got good ideas.
Who wants more Timberwolves news? Well, you're gonna have to wait till next week for more.
Okay, so
Timberwolves
we're Den of
news.
Honor next week.
That's right. We're loaded right now, and then training camp starts in like a month here. We got stuff all over the
I love
place.
this. Okay.
On Flagrant Howls, your favorite Timberwolves lifestyle podcast. See you guys.